Hello again to all my viewers. Today, we will be looking at a thriller film titled Green Room. If you enjoy the video, please let us know with your likes and comments. We want to make videos that you actually like watching. Without further ado, you already know that there will be spoilers, so watch out and take care. Today's movie opens up with 4 band members sleeping in a van that appears to have run off the road. One of the band members, named Pat, awakens inside of the van, which is still running. Pat wakes up the female band member, Sam, who then gets the rest of the crew up. The driver, named Tiger, says he must have passed out while driving last night. The 4th member of the band, named Reese, unloads their gas siphoning tools from the back of the van. Pat and Sam begin riding a bike to the nearest parking lot, where they are able to successfully steal some gas to get them back on the road. Biden got everybody struggling out here. After a long scenic drive, the band pulls up to meet a guy named Mohawk, who tells them to head upstairs to his apartment to crash. They are here for an interview about the band for a college radio station. Mohawk asks the band what their desert island band would be, meaning, if you were trapped on an island and had only one band's music with you, which band would you want it to be? Reese, Sam, and Tiger rattle off their choices, but Pat hesitates. After the interview, the band plays a gig, but when Mohawk gives them their pay, it's only about $3.50. They are obviously pissed, and Reese throws Mohawk against a door as the band says that this means their tour is over. Mohawk tells them to wait while he calls his cousin, and he can get them another gig that is more their scene, with much more pay. Mohawk explains that the venue is a pretty hardcore skinhead hangout, but the band says they see skinheads at a lot of their shows, so it shouldn't be a problem. Just don't talk about politics, Mohawk tells them. When the band pulls up at the venue, they are greeted by Mohawk's cousin, Daniel. There is already tension in the air when Daniel grabs onto Tiger after he makes a comment about Mohawk's apartment. "Do not mention that," Daniel remarks in a hushed tone. "Little secretive around these parts, I guess." The band acknowledges the tension with looks between each other when they also see that the manager misspells the band's name as the Aren't Rights instead of the Ain't Rights on the sign outside. They are escorted into the green room by another man, Gabe, who bluntly gives them the rules and tells them they are on in 15 minutes. Sam comments on how these guys are creeps, but Reese says they just run a tight ship. Pat tells his other bandmates that he has a dumb idea, and we cut to the band on stage. They start their set off by playing a cover song called Nazi Punks F Off, which obviously doesn't go well with the crowd that is full of neo-Nazi skinheads. Drinks are thrown, and the band gets a lot of scary stares until they finish the song. They immediately go into the rest of their set, which the crowd seems to like, as they begin banging their heads and moshing to the music. After the show, the band gets paid by a bouncer, Big Justin. And as they are about to leave the bar, Sam tells Pat that she forgot her phone in the green room, so he quickly runs inside to get it. When he enters, he sees Worm and Amber standing over the body of Amber's dead friend, Emily. "Can you call the cops?" Amber cries. Pat immediately flips out and runs out of the green room while calling 911. The bouncers, Big Justin and Gabe, force the bandmates back into the green room. Their phones get taken away while Big Justin holds them all at gunpoint. We cut to Gabe, who gets 2 young skinheads to stab each other out in front of the bar. They know the cops will be responding to the 911 call that Pat was able to make, so this will get the police out of the area for them. The one-time pulls into the parking lot just as the bar's owner, Professor X, arrives. The police take the 2 young skinheads into custody, while Professor X tells Gabe that the band has to be dealt with. They begin searching the band's van, looking for anything that can help tell a believable story to the cops without it tracing back to the bar. The bandmates, who are beyond shitting at this point, attack Big Justin to gain control of the gun. Reese, who seems to have a little jiu-jitsu experience, puts Big Justin in an armbar to calm him down. They then let him up, while Reese holds the gun on him. Professor X and his henchmen cut the power in the building, so they are able to clear the bar of any more witnesses. The bandmates panic as they discuss how they are going to get out of there alive, and after Professor X clears the bar out, the power is restored. Professor X speaks to the band from outside the green room, asking them to hand over the gun they have before he can let them go. The band hesitates as the weapon is their only protection, but they ultimately agree to hand it over due to Professor X giving them the impression that they can just leave unharmed. The band tells Professor X that they don't want anyone else outside the green room other than him, and he agrees. Pat cracks the door a little, but just as he is handing off the gun, Amber is able to see through a vent that there is actually a group of people waiting outside the door. Amber yells to everyone about the trap, and the men outside the green room grab onto Pat's arm, stopping him from jerking the gun back inside. Tiger tries to help by jabbing at the men with a long metal shard as he tells Pat to hold onto the gun as long as he can. Meanwhile, Reese has Big Justin on the ground once again in an armbar and proceeds to snap his arm due to Professor X's lies. Pat can no longer hold onto the gun as he screams in agony, and when he does let go of it, we see that his arm has been sliced up like Christmas ham. They shut and lock the door again as Pat continues screaming. Big Justin is now back on his feet, and Amber gives out a battle cry as she charges at him. They don't call him Big Justin for nothing, so he clotheslines poor Amber straight to the ground. I could not stop replaying the sound she makes when she hits the ground. Thankfully, Reese knows how to handle himself and is able to subdue Big Justin once more by securing a rear naked choke. Amber, who has the right idea, decides she doesn't trust a choke to put Big Justin out, so she uses a box cutter to cut him from belly button to chest. Jesus. While Professor X and the skinheads are busy working on their plan to get rid of the band cleanly, Reese begins breaking through the green room's floorboards to try and find another way out. This leads them down into some sort of bunker laboratory where the skinheads seem to be running a drug-making operation. The group realizes the ordeal they are in isn't about the dead girl, Emily, or them. It's about the skinheads keeping their drug operation a secret. They are unable to find an exit down in the bunker, so they return to the green room. Out of options, the group plans to make a run for it while they pick up blunt objects around the room for protection. They know the chance of survival is low, and Sam tells them her desert island band wouldn't be punk after all. Pat still can't decide what his desert island band would be. The group exit the green room and enter the bar area when a pit bull suddenly begins running at them. The group scatters, but sadly, the dog jumps on Tiger and bites at his throat until he is dead. Reese is able to get outside through a metal hatch, but he is stabbed to death by one of the skinheads just as he makes it out. Pat, Amber, and Sam are able to scare the pit bull away using high-pitched feedback from the speaker system. Then they run back into the green room. Daniel and Gabe kick the green room door in, and Daniel asks Amber which band member killed Emily. Amber explains it was Worm who killed Emily after he found out she was leaving the group with Daniel. Hearing this, Gabe now knows that Daniel is a traitor to the skinheads since he and Emily were planning on leaving. Gabe leaves the green room to relay the information, and Daniel decides to help the band as he is in the same boat as them now. They leave the green room again to retrieve a gun, and Daniel is quickly killed by a shotgun blast to the face. Pat kills the skinhead with a machete whack to the neck, and the three run outside with the shotgun. They are instantly met with gunfire from the skinheads. Amber is hit in the leg, and as Sam picks up the shotgun, another pit bull is running straight at her. She gets one shot off, wounding the dog, but it is still not enough to stop the killing machine from jumping on her and mauling her to death. Pat and Amber are able to make it back inside, where they are once again holed up in the green room. Pat tells Amber about the time his friends were playing paintball against real war veterans, and they were getting slaughtered. They knew real war. They played real war, he mutters. Speaking on the situation they are in, he states, "We can't play a real war." And as Amber is picking up a Sharpie, she replies, "Let's pretend." In the following scene, Professor X sends two skinheads into the green room to finish off Pat and Amber. As the two henchmen kick in the door, they see Pat, now with a shaved head, shouting nonsense with his back turned to them. This temporarily confuses the two skinheads, and Pat is able to drop down into the bunker. Pat screams and hits different objects around the bunker with his machete, making as much noise as he can. The skinheads know it's some kind of trap, but the first guy has to go down while the other sits above keeping watch. Unaware of Amber hiding in the couch, she crawls out and uses the box cutter to slit the throat of the skinhead watching the hole. Down in the bunker, the other skinhead looks for Pat, shotgun at the ready. Amber distracts him with the many dead bodies above and is able to get him to waste the last of his ammunition. Pat seizes the chance to grab for the shotgun, and they begin fighting. Amber drops down and picks up the pistol the other guy dropped, quickly killing the skinhead that is on top of Pat. Gabe enters the green room as Pat and Amber make their way back up. With a defeated look, he says he wants to go to jail. They walk Gabe out at gunpoint and leave the bar as the morning sun has begun to rise. As they walk through the woods, they hear gunfire in the distance, questioning Gabe as to what the other skinheads are doing. Gabe tells them they are staging the scene with their friends' bodies, so they decide to go and put an end to the skinheads' ways, permanently. They tell Gabe to keep walking until he can get to a phone to call the police, and then they both head towards the gunfire. They are able to sneak up on Professor X and his henchmen to catch them by surprise. Pat stares at Professor X with no fear and tells him that he was so scary at night. Professor X abruptly turns around and begins walking away, so Amber immediately blasts the henchman. Pat and Amber then begin shooting Professor X, hitting him in the back and legs. Just as he turns towards them with his revolver drawn, Pat puts a round right in the side of his head. Literally dodged a bullet there, Pat. Pat and Amber sit down, exhausted from the ordeal, as they wait for the police to arrive. They spot the wounded pitbull, who just calmly walks past them to lay by his owner, before heading up to doggy heaven. Pat breaks the silence by telling Amber he finally knows what his desert island band is, and Amber tells him to go tell someone who gives a shit. The film cuts to black. And that marks the end of today's story. I want to give a huge thanks to all of our viewers. There aren't many of you yet, but we hope to keep seeing more and more of you guys with each video we put out. This has been 7cc Movie. Watch yourselves out there, and have a great night.